My name is Patrick DeLuca. I'm the executive director of the Compassionate Cannabis Clinic in Venice. I see a lot of faces that we have already seen before, and as always, it's great to have you with us. I see also a lot of faces with the looks of curiosity in their eyes, and we appreciate you coming to this support group. It's going to be a good one tonight. The reason that we started doing these is Dr. Gordon and I attended a presentation in Fort Lauderdale with a physician from Massachusetts, and she has been practicing this medicine for several years now, and she said that one thing that they learned early on was that education is key. And being that we at the practice are devoted to patient care, education, and advocacy, this is part of our ongoing public outreach efforts. We do these every month. Next month's has been scheduled. It's September 20th. We're going to be doing a legislative roundtable. I've invited legislators to sit on the panel and hear from patients and the public what they think about this program. So that's September 20th in this location. It's free, of course. These events are always free, 7 to 9 p.m. We want you to come with an open mind. There are people in this room that are curious. There are people in this room that might have preconceptions about cannabis. There are people that just plain don't know anything about cannabis but want to. So all we ask is that for any one of these presentations, you just have an open mind. We want you to be involved. If you are a patient and you're using medicine, when we do a question and answer or patient testimony section, we want you to stand up if you feel comfortable and tell other people your story, because it really, really helps other patients to learn from your experiences. And we want you to be vocal. We, of course, have prided ourselves on the level of education that we not only provide our patients, but also the general public. And the reason that we do this is so that we can better educate you, so that you can go out and better educate other people. Because this is a real medicine. And I can tell you with my own two eyes, I witness every day the benefits of this plant. So the best way for us to ensure that sick people have access to the cannabis for which they have a constitutional right to is to educate anybody that will listen. So with that said, tonight's agenda. Dr. Gordon is going to come up. He's going to talk for a couple of minutes. We have our featured discussion this evening, Cannabis for Health and Wellness with Bill Monroe. When Dr. Gordon and I first decided that we were going to go down this very interesting path of cannabis practice, I reached out to Bill because Bill was online. He had a lot of social media presence, and I could tell from reading what he had written that he was an intelligent man that had a lot of things to say that people needed to hear. So I reached out and I had a conversation with Bill back in November before anybody even knew that the Compassionate Cannabis Clinic was going to be a thing. And since then, we have maintained a very close relationship with Bill. Bill is part of a group of advocates that for years have been fighting for patients to have the right to choose cannabis. I mean, this fight is decades old, and now we have the first functional cannabis program in the South, and people are getting help. So Bill is an amazing resource. We saw Bill speak at a couple of industry conferences across the state, and the presentation that he's going to give you tonight is amazing. It's really amazing, even for people that think that they know about cannabis. You're going to learn things tonight. We're going to, after Bill's presentation, we're going to do a question and answer. We'll walk around with a microphone. If you have any questions, Mr. Monroe, Dr. Gordon, or myself are more than happy to oblige. So, without further ado, Dr. Gordon.
beautiful. Hey, don't clap for me. Clap for Patrick. I can't do what I do without him doing what he does. You know, when we opened, it's funny, Patrick doesn't like to talk about his old radio personality days, but he loves to tell the story about his old boss. His old boss telling him that, you know what your job is? To have fun, entertain people, and protect the license, the FCC license for the radio station, right? And that's Patrick's job for me and the clinic as well. As you guys can tell when you come to see me, you know, I'm all about enjoying what I do every day. Little did I know I'd fall into such a fantastic second practice, but you know, even in my old ER days, I would always be known as the doctor that was going to come in and turn the music on and get the in a positive mood, because ERs can be, you know, very sad places at times. So, you know, to me, every moment that we could keep it to the positive, as I always would tell my patients, if it seemed too happy in the ER, I would say, hey, listen, you don't want to see me nervous. If I'm nervous, you better get nervous, because I got 32 years in the zone. That means it's the first I've ever seen, the worst I've ever seen. Call the other guy or get me something to throw up into, you know, and that didn't happen very often. So, but the point is the point. Listen, when I saw people walk in tonight, I got to tell you, the gratification that I see on my patients' faces and the smiles, and that's not everybody. You know, I don't want those that haven't quite reached the sweet spot yet, those people that are still in the process. You know, it's funny. I've been telling my patients, if I saw you in the past couple of weeks, I apologize for telling the story again, but the thing that I laugh about at this point about what I'm doing now is I laugh at myself about thinking about ER doctor on day 32. Versus ER doctor in year 32. How the hell did I ever do it on day 32? Didn't kill anybody. At least the statute of limitations is long past on that one. But no, I mean, seriously, I mean, 32 days in emergency medicine is nothing compared to 32 years. I feel the exact same way about this practice. When Patrick and I opened up the clinic on January 3rd, we knew nothing. And what I knew about cannabis, you know, medical practice was literally zero. We've learned, now here we are in August. Do I know everything? Of course not, right? But I know so much more. And what I'm leading to is this. Those of you that haven't quite gotten to the mark yet, where you walked in with the smile that some of my other patients have, don't fret. You know, what I've learned about medicine is this. When I was ER doctor and somebody came in and they were stung by a bee, right, or they were choking, right? In other words, if you got sick that fast, I can give you epinephrine for the bee sting, or I can give you the Heimlich maneuver, and I can cure you that fast. Nothing like the ER doctor to give me a 5-second problem. That's what I do. What I've learned about chronic care, and this is what I'm leading to. I didn't know it when I started. What I'm learning about chronic care is that it's different. It's the bell-shaped curve. It's how long did it take you to get there, right? To have an expectation that you can get to there, you know, even I had to learn. I'm not a very patient person. So we have to look at that kind of bell-shaped curve to a certain extent with experimentation. You know, there was one person that Patrick left out that can surely participate in the question and answer session. Patty, of course, has become what we call, she calls herself the plant manager, you know, which makes sense. We call her the dispensary concierge. What we've learned is that it's crucial to have somebody at the tail end of the visit, upon discharge, continuing to give the counsel, the teaching, and advice at the dispensary level that, quite frankly, I can't give because I don't personally have my card and I'm not a patient. So she's also a very crucial step in the process, as is Lori, of course, and Sharon, and Megan here too tonight? I didn't see her. But anyway, I got a great staff. We're growing. I don't want to betray anything either. We may be expanding a little bit. We're staying in the same location. So Patrick will beat me if I say too much about that. But listen, the smiling faces, welcome. Those still trying to get there, we're going to continue to work with you. The other great thing I see tonight are family members that I haven't met before. Welcome. And quite frankly, those people that have come in just looking for more knowledge and interest, who have never really come in to see us before. So we're here for everybody, and I welcome you. And as I said, now that I have a microphone in my hand and everybody can hear it, I do. I feel like Sally Field. You know, you like us. You really like us. You came tonight, and we threw a party, and everybody's here. And as you know, I like to say, it's like the Dr. Phil safe place to talk about all problem zone, because let's face it, there's not a lot of places where you can talk about cannabis in society today. So now that we're all here together, ask every question you have, and I can't wait to hear Bill's presentation. I learn something every time he speaks. And I do want to wrap that up. kudos to Bill and all the other advocates. I've spoken to this on social media and at the other, industry conferences that Patrick and I have been to. Every time I get up and I speak, I always start by thanking the people that came before me. I'm an Ohioan. I'm going to die an Ohioan. Buckeyes. Indians are in first place. But I've not been in Florida for long, but since these guys have been doing their thing for as long as they have, every single time I give kudos to those who came before. And Bill has been one of the foremost advocates out here, making sure that we can achieve what we have in the state. Last thing I'm going to say is this. I talked to some representatives, Representative Gonzalez, who is our representative, everybody. We're starting to crack him. I talked to him for about a half hour a couple weeks ago. I did. He's going to come and visit us in the clinic. He is. So that's what we're doing. We're taking it one by one by one, patient by patient. And that's how we're going to continue to do it. So I welcome you tonight. Thanks for coming. And I can't wait to hear Bill talk because I know I learn something every time I hear him speak.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. All right, before we get to Mr. Monroe, I just want to make a little quick announcement. Those of you that are active patients that are getting medicine, you're probably already aware that we do clinical deliveries at our practice on Saturdays. You can call TrueLeave, you can tell them that you're a patient of Dr. Gordon's, and you can pick your medicine up at a scheduled time between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturdays with no delivery charge. In the 6 weeks that we have offered this at our practice, we have saved our patients a combined total of $7,775 in delivery fees. So I want to put that out there. I also want to say that, again, this is another arm of our outreach, because we have made a promise to all of our patients that not only are we going to get you into the program and show you cannabis as a medicine, but we're also going to fight for you to have access to it. So that's part of our advocacy arm. And I'm happy to announce tonight that we have invited Surterra and Knox to begin doing the same thing. So on Saturdays, patients of Dr. Gordon's will be able to come in and pick up their orders from Surterra, Knox, or TrueLeave, free of delivery charge. Surterra starts this week. You can actually call them now if you'd like to make an order. Knox will begin next week. So I just wanted to let everybody know. We don't have any dispensaries here yet. In terms of the dispensary front, Surterra has purchased property, signed a lease, whatever, in Northport, off of Route 41, right by the new Culver's and Lowe's, but the Planning and Zoning Board hasn't done their thing yet. So Surterra is waiting for the city of Northport to do their thing. Mind you, the city of Northport is the only municipality from Bradenton down to Marco Island that has said on this coast, we're okay with dispensaries. Charlotte County has banned them outright as a county. So we appreciate the Northport Commission's forward thinking in this regard. The issue is, this resolution was first introduced by the City Commission in December. It is now August, and we still don't have solid zoning regulation. The zoning board, for those of you interested, in Northport meets tomorrow morning at the Commission chambers at 9 a.m., and the first order of discussion is the dispensary zoning resolution. So that is happening tomorrow morning if anybody's available to go. So there you go. That's our housekeeping stuff. I've taken up enough time. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Monroe.
It's going to take me a few moments to get in the swing of things, but I think I'll get into it. Give me a couple of moments. How I started my journey is I was caretaker for my mother and father for about 15 years. I'd buy their groceries, mow their yard, pick up their pharmaceuticals, take care of them, be there when mother was having issues with trying to take dad's blood sugar, going through all that. And then my father passed away. Then with my mother, taking care of my mother, she eventually came down with Parkinson's and colitis. So Parkinson's, she had the dyskinesia. Colitis, there's no cure for that. It's like all of a sudden you have diarrhea one day and the next day you don't. She lost 60 pounds and I had to hire an advocate nurse. and pay her $3,000 a month just to get all the other drugs out of her system, to get her normalized and get her on a routine, and also scope her from the top and from the bottom to find out what was going on, where she was losing all the weight. It was at that point. When she had her knee replaced, the cement was set in her knee when they put it in. So basically the bone was riding in the knee, and she was complaining about pain, and the doctor just gave her oxy. I didn't know about it. So I'd be 2 houses down in my house, and all of a sudden mom's all over the house running around talking a mile a minute to me on the phone, and I'm like, what's going on here? And trying to work through that. So I've gone through all those frustrations, and trying to get in and trying to solve the Parkinson, the dyskinesia, and also the colitis. As I started researching, I started looking at what other countries are doing. I started looking at Israel, that for 5 decades and $14 million of U.S. American taxpayer dollars have been studying cannabis. They now have a full-blown program in Israel where 27,000 patients, 28 doctors, you can go to a pharmacy and you can get cannabis, the flower, in the bag, and the rabbis say it's all good. Think about that. Where is it legal today? Well, you've got cannabis legal in Canada, Mexico, Greece, Macedonia, England, Italy. The Italian military grows medical marijuana for the masses. It goes on and on and on as you go through. It's nothing to fear. And when people talk about banning dispensaries, I'm going, why? If you look at the difference between a dispensary and a manager, at a dispensary, everybody has to have level 2 background checks. Not so at a pharmacy. Children can go into a pharmacy and run all over, pick up things off the aisles if mom is not watching. Can't do that in a dispensary. If you go to a dispensary, they have security. They have cameras all inside and outside. Do they do that in a pharmacy? Do they have security people looking that around the clock? No, not at all. In a pharmacy, they sell products that will kill you. Sleeping pills, opiates that kill 99 Americans every day. Over 56,000 Americans died in 2016 of opiate overdoses. That just goes overlooked. You don't have any cannabinoid receptors in your brainstem, so it will not depress respiration or heartbeat. I could give you a whole bag of cannabis. You could smoke it, you could eat it, whatever you want to do. You'll go to sleep and you'll wake up with cotton mouth in the morning is the worst thing that's going to happen. There's been 0 recorded deaths with cannabis. So if you're looking at a safe product, if you look at the different painkillers, what do we have at the bottom? We have NSAIDs like Bear and aspirin. You take that for more than 2 months, what are you going to end up with? Gastrointestinal bleeding, renal damage, things of that sort. I talked to a doctor the other day. He said, Bill, you need to start investing in these kidney dialysis clinics because all these people taking Celebrex and everything, 10 years from now, that's where they're going to be. And what do you have at the top? You have opiates. So like with my mother, when she passed away, we had to give her opiates in order to ease her out. And basically she was asleep and you're just sitting there waiting at that point. So I look at cannabis as being in between. It's between the aspirin and the NSAIDs and also the opiates, that in between for pain reliever and other things. You have 130 cannabinoids in cannabis. We've just looked into 12 of them. The only one that everybody's all afraid of is THC. You know when THC became legal and approved by the FDA? 1985. Synthetic version. It's Schedule 3. The plan is Schedule 1. Now if you're sitting there, you're going, wait a minute. It's Schedule 3 synthetic, meaning it has medicinal use, but the plant is Schedule 1 and I can't use it, and the plant is dangerous, but the synthetic is okay and I can go to a pharmacy. My brain's about to explode. So when you start looking at the politics and everything, you start to go, what the heck? Also, if you look at the only place that can grow cannabis for medical marijuana research is in Mississippi. That's the only place that can grow it for research purposes. So anybody who wants to research it has to go to Mississippi. They can't go anywhere else. They have to go there. Guess who has got an exclusive contract with the University of Mississippi to develop cannabis-based drugs? Nemus Bioscience. So the DEA that's managing the University of Mississippi's program, Nemus Bioscience has an exclusive contract with them. They are paying annual fees to the government so they can have this contract that the government says doesn't have any medicinal value. So if you start looking at it, you're going, well, none of this makes sense. So if you're a logical person, you're going, well, I'm starting to believe that cannabis has medicinal value. the Department of Health and Human Services has a patent. They have licensed that patent out to several different groups. They are receiving fees now. So that's what we're going to be getting into here coming up. So that's my mug. I like to do a lot of gardening. I like to plant lychees and longans and mangoes, and I love getting into it. That's how I got into plants and all. And then after plants, I got into cannabis. I started this journey 5 years ago in cannabis. Never thought I'd be here today. Oh, by the way, if you're sitting out there in the audience here and you're going, well, I bet you he's getting paid thousands of dollars to go off and do all these talks. Not so. I went up to Tallahassee and paid my own dollars to stay at a hotel and debate lobbyist Barney Bishop at the Rotary Club in front of 150 people, including retired Supreme Court judges. I debated Dr. Jennifer Spencer, who was hired by Mel Sembler, who was talking about prohibition and going in it. Use my own money, my own time to do that. Because I believe enough in this that people need to hear both sides of it and make up their own decision as we go along. And the biggest reason I do that is my mom. So when she passed, I wanted to keep this. If you're out there and you're listening today, you can make up your own mind. I'm not going to just tell you what's good, go off and use it. Use all the facts and listen and go forward. So when they talk about pot or cannabis, what is that? Well, exactly, cannabis itself is into different groups. You have cannabis indica, cannabis sativa, and cannabis ruderalis. So think of indica as coming from the Hindu Kush region, higher elevation, where they like low temperature, low humidity. The sativas are more equatorial around Africa. The biggest takeaway from this slide is indicas are more body affecting. They relax you, they work on the body, where sativas are more cerebral. A lot of artists I know take cannabis sativa when they want to get artistic. I know somebody who's an architect, when they want to sit there and get back and get everything out of their mind, they took a little sativa. And if you're looking at the leaves, how you do tell the difference? Sativas normally have a long, thin leaf, where indicas and hybrids have a wide leaf on there. And they have different ratios of cannabinoids. So when somebody goes, well, why do we want to care about cultivars? Because it's the effect upon the body. The ruderalis is a version from Russia. And a lot of the black market growers would take the ruderalis and they would cross it with those other strains in order to get a shorter plant so they can grow it in their closet. It doesn't grow as tall. So that's mainly where that one came in. Cannabis consumption. I hear all the time from the Florida Sheriff's Association and other groups, they go, well, we don't want people smoking it. They're going to smoke it all the time. Well, if you're looking at it straight from a medicinal standpoint, you get about 25% uptake of THC with smoking. You get about 45% with vaporization. Vaporization is better than smoking, but some people prefer smoking. In which case, if I tell you if you prefer smoking, then you want to use those type of wrappers that are natural, hemp paper wrappers without the synthetic gum, natural gum, that type of thing for your body at that point. To give you an idea, a typical joint, a thin joint, is about 30 milligrams THC. Not a big fatty, but a small thin one there. So normally I tell a lot of folks that if you're smoking it, usually about 5 to 10 milligrams is good. You know, if you just want to relax and you don't want to get stoned and you just want to just lay back at that point and not get to a point where you're too far along the line. So they sell these little capsules where you can smoke a third and put it in there. Vaporization is the best, I think, in my opinion, because the uptake is a lot more efficient. And with vaporization, if you're talking about a whole distillate and none of the different oils in there that I don't care for, vaporization, you can measure your dosage. At night, you can go, I'll take a 2 or 3 second draw on my vape pen, see what works. And then you're going, well, that two draws on the vape pen works. I'll do that the next night. That's great. If you want to do more the next night, that's fine too. To give you an idea, for example, if it's Saturday or it's Friday and you want to sleep in till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock the next morning, and you've got a good indica at that point, you can take, instead of 2 vapes, you can do 4 or 5 vapes, and then you'll sleep through. Indica has some of the cannabinoids in there that will help you with sleep, where sativas have some cannabinoids in there like THCV, which makes you more awake. Think of THCV as like 2 or 3 cups of coffee, Where an indica is like you've had 2 or 3 glasses of wine and you sat down and relaxed, you know. And then you got the hybrids, and the hybrids are somewhere in between, and you never know what you're going to get depending on the dominant of the sativa or the indica. You got edibles. Edibles are a little bit more interesting, a little more, you got to watch yourself with there, because when you take an edible, it can take 30 to 45 minutes for it to kick in. So with an edible, you can eat half of a brownie or 10 milligram chocolate, and you're going, well, nothing happened. Give me another one of them. Still don't feel anything. I'll take one more. It's like my son, who was at University of Florida, was, and the guys got together and made some brownies. So one of the guys came over, ate a brownie, and they said, you don't want to do that. You want to eat half of it. He ate half of it, and he goes, I don't feel anything. So he had 2. That's where the bad experience happens. So edibles, you know, and the experience I'm talking about is where you're wide awake and you've got that, you know, that kind of high feeling, and you're going, oh, this is uncomfortable, okay? You don't want to feel uncomfortable when you're doing this. It's like anything. You're a whole medicine. You don't want to take all your pharmaceuticals. It's all about balance and dosage along the way. Tinctures, I like tinctures. Tinctures is you take an eyedropper, you just put it right underneath the tongue, done at that point. Transdermal patches, you can wear that on the side, on a place where you have your thin skin on the inner thigh or on the back, and it will last all day. They make transdermal patches, you'll find them up in Colorado in a lot of different areas. Suppositories, where would you use a suppository? What if you can't keep food down? Okay? You're throwing up food, you're trying to release, so with suppositories. Also, if you have colon cancer. Okay? I had a friend of mine who had colon cancer, and he used suppositories for that in order to get the THC and the CBD up in that area. And you're going, well, why would you want to get THC and CBD up in there? Well, they've done 2 studies, and they're continuing to do studies in Israel where they take THC and CBD and they put that in the petri dishes with colon cancer. It killed all the cancer cells. They did it a second time, it killed them all. Then they did it with a small cell breast cancer, killed all them. And you're going, Bill, you're not telling me the truth. That information. Go to the U.S. Cancer Institute's website, type in cannabinoids, CBD, THC, cancer. It's right there. Read it for yourself. That's where I did. So if you're looking at the cannabinoids, THC and CBD, they cause what is called apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. So they kill the cancer cells, they restrict the blood going off to the tumors, and they die at that point. And I'm going, all I want to do is see human studies. That's all I want to do. Show me the human studies. You know how many human studies have been conducted in America today? 0. So if you've got something that's killing cancer cells, wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know there's research? Well, the DEA said we're going to allow more places other than the university. Came up here in August, and they go, where are you with that? You got 25 applications. You know what the DEA said? We're under no timeline to approve these. We're under no timeline to tell you when we're going to approve them. So the same people that are telling you that we need more research are the same ones that are saying, hey, we're under no timeline to approve additional resources for testing this. So if you're sitting out there and you're a patient, you're angry. You're going, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this to our people as we're going along? Cannabis-infused teas and honey. I like the little honey sticks. You got honey sticks that are infused cannabis or cannabinoids in them, THC. Just squeeze that off into your tea and have it at night. Okay. Juicing the plant. You can take the plant and juice it, and you will not have any euphoric effects. Until you heat the plant matter, it does not become psychoactive. I could bring a plant in, and you could sit there and eat the whole plant down to the root. Nothing's going to happen to you because it's all acidic. It's THC-A, CBD-A. Until you heat it up, it doesn't become psychoactive, THC. So that's why you can juice it. And there's a lawsuit here in Florida today, that's going on this year, because a gentleman wants to juice it for his cancer. And you get all the beneficial effects from it. So why medical marijuana? Well, we had Amendment 2 goals are a total synthesis of the 113 cannabinoids. Actually, they're up around 130 now. So a cannabinoid, just think of a cannabinoid as being a key, okay? You have receptors in your body. You have two groups of receptors, CB1 and CB2. Everything from usually from your neck up on your head is CB1 receptors, and then CB2 you have receptors in your body, in your colon, your stomach, and other areas. Those cannabinoids, as they enter the body, end up as keys unlocking and preventing things from happening. Or in some cases, they prevent, for example, THC and CBD. The Salk Institute did a study over a period of years, and also Dr. Greg Gerdeman, who's with Eckerd College, did a study over 10 years where they were using small doses of 3 to 5 milligrams of CBD and THC to prevent plaque buildup in the brain. What happens is it balances the GABA and the glutamate in the brain. It prevents that plaque buildup, which leads to dementia and Alzheimer's. That's why I'm talking about cannabis being for your well-being. I haven't met anybody out there yet who's like, yeah, I'm all for dementia and Alzheimer's. I've seen it with my father. I don't want to see that at all. But you don't wait until you have dementia and Alzheimer's in order to start doing this. It's too late. The plaque buildup is already built up in the brain. You want to start before you even have this. Nothing's going to happen to you, or you're not going to cause any damage or physical pain to anybody. All the reefer madness, none of that happens. You don't feel anything at that point. So you have an endocannabinoid system, and like I said, CB1 is from the neck up. CB2 is from most of the body from the neck down, and cannabinoids act as keys to receptors in the endocannabinoid system. You have an endocannabinoid system, and you have cannabinoids in you today. When a woman breastfeeds her baby, there are cannabinoids in her milk that she is giving to her baby. That imparts the wellness into the baby as you're going along. Israel, epicenter of cannabis research. That's where they discovered THC. And some of the things I wanted to talk about there is, we're over 23,000 patients. We're around 27,000 patients. And their Israeli Defense Force veterans get to smoke cannabis as far as their PTSD. And then if you talk about it here in America, we're going, well, we can't let our veterans who are committing suicide at 22 a day to go off and smoke cannabis that has never killed anybody. Well, they're doing it in Israel. So Israel's preparing the American market for $22 billion. Israel has already said that we know it works, we know it's medicine, we're going to start exporting to the United States. So they're exporting to Canada now, and they're waiting for the laws to change here in America so they can go from Canada into America at this point. They're already linked with some of the big companies here in Florida. Afria, that bought Chestnut Hill and bought their license, they have Israeli influences. They're connected back to Israel. They have interest back in that area there. So Israel said they expect their medical marijuana market to be bigger than military sales, and that's huge if you think about it. So this is a patent that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services came out with, 6630507. And we have, the government has licensed that patent to Canna Life to treat CTE. CTE results from concussions, numerous concussions and all. Remember I was talking about cannabis being a neuroprotectant for the brain? Well, there was a movie that came out here recently. It was called Concussion. And also there's a $1 billion lawsuit with with the NFL with concussions and everything. The company called Canna Life hired that professor who discovered CTE, who is sitting on his board that has license with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to have cannabis that treats the brain for football-related injuries. It's already going down that path. So when a lot of folks talk about it, we want to stop cannabis from coming into our communities, it's already happening. It's happening at the corporate level. It's happening at other levels. They just want to keep it away at your level for price points. That's the only reason. You know how much 1 ounce of synthetic THC cost? $60,000 for 1 ounce. Marinol, and it's only THC. You can get 1 ounce of cannabis for around $200. It's all money. Money and control. So synthetic THC versus plant-based THC. Well, synthetic THC is Schedule 3, while plant-based THC is Schedule 1. That should make you go, why is that? Synthetic THC is FDA approved and safe according to the FDA, but plant-based THC is not. Does that make any sense? Plant-based THC costs 20 to 30 cents per milligram, while marijuana can cost like $1.81 per milligram. Actually, it's higher than that. Synthetic THC is sold at pharmacies, while plant-based THC cannot be sold at pharmacies. There are 3 synthetic versions of THC out there today that you can go into a pharmacy and purchase. So if synthetic THC is a scary thing, how many people have been within probably 5 miles of a pharmacy today? Probably everybody here today, traveling around. Did we see layers of security at a pharmacy? Do we hear people going, oh, scary synthetic THC at the pharmacies? Why would plant-based THC or the oil from the plant be any different? It's not. Over $500 million is projected in annual sales from synthetic THC in the United States alone. It's money. The pharmacies know that. And if you look at it, remember, cannabis cannot cause an overdose death. They are coming out with synthetic THCs now that are 45, 100, 1,000 times stronger than regular THC, like fentanyl here, right here. Call that Percopop. All they do is they go and they steal that in from the pharmacies, or they have somebody in the market chain and they steal it and then makes it out to the street. So we're 1,000 times stronger than heroin. If you're talking about the powder version, it's killing the dogs for the police forces. If the police is in the car going around and it sniffs that up, dog's dead. It's all pharmaceutical, all legal and can kill you. So medical marijuana in states, you're going to have fewer pills. This is what scares the pharmaceutical industry. You're not out there spending your money. We got to have you spending your money on sleeping pills, Celebrex, aspirin, Bayer, opiates. How many people, if you watch the news, just be cognizant of the medical commercials you see on TV. The medical commercials that go, oh great, and the side effects are bleeding and renal damage and possible death. And they have music playing in the background and beautiful actors running all around. And you're going, I want some of that. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Even my 16-year-old daughter's sitting there and she's going, Dad, I can't watch this anymore. Turn it off, Dad. This is stupid. So, they talk about chaos. City council is going, we're going to have chaos if we allow dispensaries in here. Well, if we're going to have chaos, look at all those countries where we have medical marijuana. And we have 34 states now that have medical marijuana in the United States. Where's the chaos? Where's all the problems that we're seeing today? Or supposedly seeing today? Where's all this chaos? I'm not seeing it. Australia has medical marijuana. Canada, Puerto Rico, Israel, Colombia, India, Spain, Portugal. A lot of them I don't even have listed. Italy, the military grows it. False arguments. Increases crime. Not if you look at the FBI uniform crime reports. That's the true place where you look at it. Look at the FBI uniform crime reports and see about, as far as drug driving and things of that sort. And here's another thing too, is when you've got cannabis in your system, the body breaks down the cannabis into what's called metabolites, and it's waste, and it goes out in the form of urine and other things in your body when you excrete it. You can sit there and use your vape pen today, and you could still have that waste, those metabolites, 2-3 weeks from now. So if you get pulled over and they go, we'd like you to urinate in this cup. So you do it because there was a traffic accident, and they go, well, you were drug driving. No, I used it 3 weeks ago. Well, you've got the metabolites here. It proves that you were drug driving. That's not the case. That's like saying you drank a beer tonight, and then 3 weeks from now, you got pulled over, and they go, you were drug driving, or you were drunk driving, because there's some type of waste product in your system. It doesn't make sense. So you have to use your critical thinking when you're going through this. Children can walk in and buy cannabis. No. First off, you got ID checks, all that goes through. Cannabis makes you go insane and commit unsavory acts. No. Only if you're role-playing at home. So research for yourself and decide. Here's some of the different ones I did. I went through it. I would spend 2.5, 3 hours a night over 3-4 years reading through these. PubMed, you can go off there and you can search on it, and it has all the different studies, over 500, 600 studies. That's what the doctors use. It's online. There's no cost. You can use it. Clinicaltrials.gov, everything that is paid for with tax dollars, you can go off and research these double-blind tests. Remember, they're saying, well, where's the research? Well, it's there. Nobody's going to bother telling you where to go if it's against their beliefs and where they stand politically. The National Cancer Institute, you can look at cannabis and cannabinoids. And oh, by the way, all these slides are going to be with Pat if anybody wants them later on. U.S. Patent Office. You're going, Patent Office? Where would I find information at the Patent Office on the website? Well, do a keyword search on that web page on Israel and cannabis. See how many plants that they've already patented here in the United States. 3 or 4, I believe, at this point. Also, look at the different pharmaceutical industries. Look at all their patents. Nemus Bioscience, NCES Therapeutics, Synergy, Canna Life. It goes on and on. I think it was up to about 25 or 26 different pharmaceutical industries that have patented different versions. If I can keep it out of your hand long enough, I'll be able to patent every one of those cannabinoids and every mixture and combination of that, and then I'll sell it to you until it's medicinal. It's going to cost you a little bit. And your insurance will buy it. They'll pay for it, so you shouldn't complain. You're covered at that point. But that's going to be 10 to 20 years from now. You know how much it costs to get something approved with the FDA? $1 billion and on the average 10 years. And they can only do one drug, one ailment, and that's it. If you want to try THC for anything else, that's another study and another $1 billion in another 10 years. So disease and projections in Florida. Well, there's an estimated 2 million patients alive in 2017 during their lifetime that have been diagnosed with cancer, epilepsy, HIV, MS, Parkinson's, and PTSD here in Florida. There's going to be an estimated 130,000 patients newly diagnosed, and terminally ill, 47,000. Okay? So if you look at all the different numbers and you're going, well, how do you justify having cannabis in so many dispensaries and so many different variations and all that? Well, if you look at the numbers, there you are. So if you look at cannabis, I look at cannabis as affordable medicine. It's a medicine for the masses, is what you can afford if we can get it down at this point. And this is why I've been so vocal in fighting the initial 6 or 7 license holders, because they were trying to keep the prices high. And I'm saying, you can't do this. You can't have somebody who's 80, 85 years old or paying hundreds of dollars a month. They just can't afford this. We got to be able to get the price down at this point. So these are the people that are living below the poverty level with adults, children, the percentages, and the households in poverty are usually single parent. So a lot about cannabis legalization is just providing affordable medicine. Here's some of the most common cannabinoids. You're going to be seeing a lot of this as we're going on. We have THC, which everybody talks about, and that's pretty much the only psychoactive one. There's THCV. But when you talk about psychoactivity, or you talk about getting high, what does that mean in effect? Okay? To me, if you're talking about low levels, it's the same thing as when I found out I was going to be a grandfather. I had that dopamine release in my head. I felt good. I was like, all right, what am I going to, I hate grandpa. I got to think of something else. Papa, coach, no. So, is euphoria bad? No. To me, euphoria is good. Now, and there's balance with everything. You don't want to drink too much. You don't want to eat too much. You want to exercise. It's all about balance. And then you have raw. Well, you can juice a plant, and you can get certain cannabinoids there, all the acidic versions for wellness. And I think you are going to see this probably in the next 10 years when it becomes legal, and then the big companies come in and they grow this on scale, and then it becomes a commodity and cheap enough where you can juice it. And if you go to Publix or Whole Foods now and you look in the juice aisle, you can find the raw juices, right? I bet in 10 years you're going to see a cannabis raw juice there now. I bet you can go to Whole Foods and buy cannabis right now. New York is taking cannabis, small shoots, cutting the leaves off of that, the hemp, putting it in the salads, and the Whole Foods is selling it here in Florida. No, there's no THC in that. So the hemp is 0.3% THC or below, so you're not going to get stoned off it, but you'll get all the THCA and all the other benefits from the raw version in that. Okay? So it's already out there, but Florida can't do it. So I'm sitting here going, wait a minute, we're going to import from the New York State, but we can't grow it in Florida as microgreens and sell it in salads? You know how much it goes for in Whole Foods? A little box? $8. I bet there's a lot of people here going, I could do that and make $8 off of a box. When you heat it, what happens there is you have a chemical reaction, and then it loses its acidic version and becomes something else. And then also when you age something, when you take cannabis and you put it in an old jar and you forget where it is because you hid it from your parents, and then you find it 20 years later and you're going, oh, there's my old cannabis. I wonder if it's any good. Well, what happens is that THC declines over time and it becomes CBN, and CBN helps you fall asleep. So you won't get high, but you'll go to sleep. Good for that. So one of the things I always fight about is seniors require easy access to cannabis. Why would we take dispensaries and put them out in the middle of nowhere, off of the public line? So we're going to have somebody that takes public transportation, tell them they have to get off the bus, walk through this neighborhood, and go somewhere and go pick it up. It doesn't make sense. So older adults, 65 years or older, are 50% more likely than younger individuals to be struck and killed by a car while walking. There are six cities here in Florida that are the highest cities out of all the 50 states for pedestrian deaths. And we're going to take dispensaries and we're going to put them in the bad areas of the neighborhood, or put them where now the seniors have to walk and get to them. Dementia. Cannabis in doses ranging 3 to 5 milligrams can be used for everyday wellness without any noticeable impairment. When I talked to Dr. Greg Gerdeman at Eckerd College, I said, you did this study for 10 years and you found out that it was able to keep the plaque buildup in the brain down? He goes, yeah. I said, you know, there's a pharmaceutical company doing that now. He goes, yeah, well, they had the money. We didn't, so we couldn't do anything with it. We knew it worked. Couldn't do anything with it. We didn't have the money. So cannabinoids, THC and CBD, is used to create homeostasis and aid in preventing proteins which lead to dementia and Alzheimer's over time. And there's the references at the bottom there. If you notice on the slides, you're welcome to look at it. You're welcome to read the references and go through it. All I'm doing is introducing you to the materials. For sleep and heart health, 2.5 milligrams of THC daily for 2 weeks resulted in a reduction of nocturnal activity, agitation, aberrant behavior, and no side effects were noted. I'm talking to some of the memory care directors at the Alzheimer's group in Palm Bay, Florida. They want to use it with their dementia patients to stop the kind of regulate the nocturnal activity and the aberrant behavior. And they want edibles. They want chocolates. I go, why do you want chocolates? They go, well, they're tired of taking pills. You give them pills, they put it under the tongue, they hide it, they spit it out. You know, they don't like that. But if you get it in the chocolate version, they'll take that. And it just kind of moderates them at that point. So you have what are called these receptors in your epidermis and also in other areas of your body. It's actually a family of ion channels, and I don't want to get into the science because I'm not a scientist, so I just get into it enough to learn it and then check it out with some of the people that are scientists, like Dr. Gerdeman. He goes, yeah, you're on the right path, but I'd use these medical words, and I'm going, well, nobody's going to understand what I'm saying. I don't even understand it at that point. So in your epidermis, your internal organs, and your human tissue contain receptors, the molecular gateway to pain pathway. So if you've seen these topicals where they're with THC and CBD in it, and it's a topical, you're not going to get high off of it, but you can put it in areas of your body where you have pain. I had a topical I got from Colorado. Do you know where I used mine? Fire ant bites. I hate those little boogers. I'd be out there in the backyard, and I'd have fire ants all over my toes, my ankle, biting me, the blisters. I would take the topical, put it on there. With 2 to 3 days, the blisters went down. And you know that itching when you get hit by a fire ant bite? Put some of that on a fire ant bite. Tell me if you got any itching after that. Use your own experience. So I think topicals are going to be another big thing here in the future. Also psoriasis, you can use it for that. Trying to remember the name of it. There's a Israeli company now that introduced a new topical just for psoriasis for treating it. And they're introducing that into Canada, and it's making its way down here into the United States. So you have thickening of the heart muscle, which results in a disease in the size of the chamber of the heart, including the left and right ventricles. Cannabinoids and native plant extracts exerted a more significant effect on the receptors in purified cannabinoids. And what happens there is it just helps reduce the size of the heart muscle over time. Pharmaceutical firm for protecting the brain here. Submitted cannabis patent for neural protection for radical damage occurring with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Lewy body dementia, working on the FDA with a 12-month study. There's a lot of different groups out there now that are either in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3 clinical trials. GW Pharmaceuticals now is in phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials for arthritis, for epilepsy, Dravet syndrome, and there's a couple others that they're also having clinical trials. Quite a few. Parkinson's News Today, what they came out with in their 2016 article, mixtures of cannabis cannabinoids enhance the secretion of neurotransmitter dopamine and protect the neurons from free radical damage. And dopamine and neuronal damage are hallmarks in the neurodegenerative diseases. You can also find on YouTube, there's a gentleman there in England who's got Parkinson's, and he's got involuntary movement, and they show him before they take the CBD oil and after he takes the CBD oil. What happens there? 20 minutes before, then 20 minutes after, all his involuntary movements start. And CBD oil is non-euphoric. You can drink the whole thing. It's not going to do anything to you. Whoops, did I turn it off? No. So the future of cannabis cannabinoid medications will be complex mixtures of cannabinoids and their entourage effects. What I'm also seeing is they're taking cannabis and they're mixing it with other native herbs out there. You've got turmeric, so they're mixing cannabis and turmeric. They're mixing cannabis with other things, so they're making natural blends. And if you think about it, most of your medicines come from flowering plants anyway. So it makes sense. It all is derived from your flowering plants. The National Cancer Institute, they said CBD in particular is thought to have significant analgesic, anti-inflammatory activity within the psychoactive effect. Tumors have been shown to be sensitive to cannabinoid-induced growth inhibition. In effect, what that's doing is THC and CBD is reducing the size of the tumor. It's also killing cancer cells through apoptosis, and it shrinks the blood supply to the tumors, which cause it to grow. It's stopping the feeding going to the tumors. National Cancer Institute with breast cancer. Cannabinoids appear to kill tumor cells, but do not affect their non-transformed counterparts, meaning the surrounding cells, and may even protect them from cell death. They appear to kill brain cancer cells via apoptosis. And again, this comes down to all I want is to see human studies. You can believe or not believe, but I believe you have to be sitting there going, we need to have more human studies to show what works and what doesn't work. Right now, Israel is they're using over 200 different cultivars against various types of cancer to see what works and doesn't work in Israel. And then they're taking their medicine and they're packaging it and they're going to Canada and they're going to deliver it to the United States. Okay? There's no reason why we can't be doing it here in the United States. Colon cancer. They found with CBD has also been demonstrated to exert a chemoprotective effect in mouse model colon cancer. In vitro experiments involving Colorectal cancer cell lines, the investigators found that CBD-protected DNA from oxidative damage increased the endocannabinoid levels and reduced cell proliferation. Takeaway from that is it helps if you have colon cancer. And then they went off and did studies with lung cancer and found out that it did there, preliminary mouse studies. So I've shown you colon cancer. I've shown you breast cancer. I've shown you other things where they've done mouse studies. But there's no human studies.